Welcome to another episode of Talking with Aleesha. Today I have a very special guest with me, Sonya Barlow. So, Talking with Aleesha, for any first-time viewers, is just a series where I talk to inspirational women. The purpose of the series is to shed light on stories of women that we don't usually get to hear. And it's a great way to show women in a more diverse way. So the reason why I really wanted to speak to Sonya was that she's actually the founder of Like-Minded Females, a network to encourage females to meet one another during monthly events. Thank you so much, Sonya, for being here today. Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
Of course.
So one of the first things that I wanted to ask was, what was the inspiration behind Like-Minded Females?
So the very honest truth is, like-minded females came from a place of being quite isolated and lonely, especially working in the tech industry. So for context, I graduated in 2015 and I just started working in tech and analytics. And for those who don't know, so technology and analytics industries make up only 15% of females are kind of are within that industry, and less than 3% in senior board roles, or less than 3% who are ethnic minorities or of an ethnic background. And so I found myself quite alone, not culturally fitting in, and not really understanding who I could go to for the silly questions that we have.
Yeah.
And also I find that once you come out of university, no one really teaches you the important stuff like life skills and how to handle office politics and how to talk to your manager and how to ask for a pay rise, etc. And being in London, it was ironic that London is one of the most global and busiest cities.
Yeah.
And yet it's also one of the most isolating.
Yeah.
So long story short, I at that point decided with my co-founder Dewey that we were just tired of feeling like we didn't have a sense of community or a sisterhood or anyone to talk to. And we also didn't want to pay the ridiculous amounts that people in London were asking us to pay, anywhere between £40 to £1,500 to meet people.
Yeah.
With social media, it should be far easier. And so overnight, through a burst of both anger and excitement, we just created a LinkedIn group. 3 months later, we created an Instagram group. And 1 year on, we have led over 12,000 people from an engagement perspective. We've done over 40 workshops and initiatives to educate, provide confidence and empower females, but also bring men into the conversation. And so we've gone from an idea of, well, let's have a brunch to bring females together and talk about work-related situations, to let's help businesses to understand why we should have a diverse workforce, how they can implement a diverse workforce, and let's help normal, real females just to boost their skills in confidence, in believing in themselves, and providing them an initiative to be their truest, authentic self and be proud of it.
Yeah.
That's really as much as it was.
So it's for all women? That's what I'm getting, or just women in technology?
No, so it's actually for across industry.
Yeah.
And that's by design, because there's a lot of industries who are doing what, for example, the technology industry is trying to do, but they've already done it and they've done it well, or we could learn from their mistakes. So we wanted to create something which was cross-industry and where we could cross-pollinate ideas and educate each other. Mm-hmm. But we do have specific labs. So we have a business lab, a creative lab, and a tech lab. And within those labs, we then theme the content, the workshops, the initiatives. And so for me, 2019, and then going into 2020 is all about leading the tech lab. So it's about making sure that we're providing a platform for those specifically in technology.
Yeah.
With the life skills, with the work skills, but most importantly with the opportunities in which they can really enhance and empower themselves and their careers to move forward, especially when there's just not enough women in technology to begin with.
Yeah, no, I agree with you in that regard, because it's great that you have women from all across fields, but I feel like especially women in tech, with women in tech, they don't have that support system, because usually you get that with people around you or people above you in your careers, but as you said, there's barely any women in tech. So,
and that's the thing, I 100%. So it was quite a fluky idea. We didn't think it would get to the point where it's gotten to, And now being a woman in tech myself, having experienced what I've experienced, I want to provide a cultural change and disrupt the culture so that future females can come in and feel supported. But most importantly, like mentioned, we can help businesses to understand why they should be not only hiring females, but helping to retain and grow them. And so that's such a passion project of mine that I'm actually going back to university in September to start a PhD research project on that topic itself.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So would you be doing that alongside your career, or is it something alongside your career?
Yeah, so I'll be doing it part-time at the University of Bath with the research topic proposed, quotation marks, what are the barriers for entry and progression for females in technology, specifically focusing on females and narrowing down to ethnic minorities, alongside working a full-time job in technology and running like-minded females.
That is amazing that you're taking on so much. How do you find it scary to take on so much? Do you just go head on? What's your thought process when you have so many obligating tasks? How do you think about it that way?
The very honest truth is, and it might sound absurd to most people, is that I work better when I'm busy.
Yeah.
I'm just way more efficient and effective and productive when I have a number of passion projects which I'm interested in. And for me, it's all about providing social good and social impact and making sure that we can change the culture and lead the culture. One of the reasons I founded Like-Minded Females was because I was tired of being that person that would just sit there and be like, well, there's nothing around. If there's nothing around, I then challenge everyone to try and create something or to try to mend the problem and find a solution. And again, with the subject of, well, why are there not enough females in technology? I appreciate that businesses are doing their work or making it into a priority or on their strategic agenda point. But instead of sitting around saying, well, why aren't there? I've just decided, well, I'm going to help you find out why there isn't. And I'm going to do my own primary research, which I can then use to consult and provide you with, so that you exactly know why or what the barriers are and how you can solve them.
And there's so many different types. I feel like it starts from a very young age, why there aren't very many females in technology, and all throughout like a female's career, there's so many different obstacles, there's so many different variations that companies can do, that society can do to accommodate them and to just make the platform a lot more equal. Definitely. And I feel like you getting out there and doing it is one of the best ways. Why did you choose networking out of all the things that you could have gone about in so many different ways? So why networking events?
So it actually started with providing a online community that was empowering and positive. Stats show that over 90% of the UK population are online, majority of them being young professionals, and we're on our phones for at least 3 hours a day. So for me, it was about, well, if we're already on our smartphones and we're on these platforms, we should be surrounded by positive, empowering content, which makes us not only feel good about ourselves, but teaches us something. And so it started with an online community, and it went offline because it's important to also create those real life connections.
Yeah.
And networking is often it's a taboo word, but for us it's more networking in the sense of widening your network and having a support network and creating connections which allow you to connect and in that regard network with other people. It's less salesy, it's not about business, it's about just having that network, like a boys network, right?
Yeah.
One of the reasons why boys thrive or men thrive is because they have a boys network, and a boys network is often not regarded as a networking opportunity. It's often a network which supports each other, and that's what it should be, an ecosystem which supports each other.
Yeah.
And so our offline initiatives help to create those real one-to-one connections, deep connections, and allow us to talk about a themed topic or problem in hand. And our online communities such as Instagram, LinkedIn, and our Slack channel, which is global, allows you to connect with the community and build your network globally. Because actually a problem that you may be feeling wherever you are in the world maybe a similar problem that someone else is feeling, or they've overcome somewhere else, and we can just learn from each other.
Yeah, definitely. So it's good that you have that online and offline kind of aspect of it. What impact have you seen?
Yeah, we do you know, it's very humbling, and I'm very fortunate to say that we receive messages actually now daily from individuals who just thank us for building a community in which empowers them and provides positive content, through to individuals who are excited by the initiatives we have coming up, or the ones that have already attended and found them very useful. For me, the idea of having such a community, because obviously there's a lot of communities out there. We're not saying we are the only one. The difference is that we make everything actionable. The whole point of the initiatives we run, offline or online, is that you will be provided with action points and a toolkit which you can take away and implement or use in your daily lives. So we've had success stories from actually having, kind of managers building their confidence enough to be promoted into senior leadership, through to educating fresh graduates on how to conduct themselves in an interview, how to dress accordingly, how to think with a positive mindset, and then receiving job offers, to actually just having secondary school students have role models in technology who they can aspire to become. So we've had a bit of everything. And so success stories wise, we get it more or less on a daily impact now. We just have people messaging and people kind of emailing us saying, we've heard great things about you. We'd like you to come into our businesses and actually teach us what we can do better. We are now approached by so many conferences in kind of the autumn coming up that I don't have enough time, and now we're in a fortunate position that we have to start saying no, because you just don't have enough time in the day. But then equally it makes us think, okay, but how can we share that message? So coming up, we want to facilitate and provide these kind of the educational side to everyone, and for no cost. So we're going to have more blogs and a online course coming up and webinars, so that you can learn from the space of your own home.
No, that's amazing. And it's so good to see how much it's grown in such a short amount of time. It just shows that how much needed this kind of thing is in today's society, and how many females need this kind of safe space to just talk about their issues and what's going on, and how just receptive people are. So it's amazing that what you're doing.
I think one of the greatest achievements is when we have men come to our initiatives. So we have female only, for example, brunches, which we call Brunch and Becomes, which are led by females who are just smashing it in their kind of day jobs or in their lives, and they want to basically host a roundtable and teach others. But the rest of our events, so let's say workshops, after hours, or networking events, are open to men. And when we look at the stats, actually 30% of our engaged community online are men. And we have at least 25% or 15 to 25% of the room, of those attending, who are now men. So we are a female-friendly space. We create spaces which are suited towards and tailored towards females. But we don't discourage men from coming, because actually often what we forget is that there are men who are kind of on the spectrum of masculine culture. There are men who are more masculine than others. And so those are the men that have more feminine traits, or need to talk about issues such as mental health and problems that they're facing. They also don't have a space. And so we are often able to provide a space for them as well. And that's really where we start acknowledging the efforts that we've made to change the cultural norm. And as you can see, most of our branding is more on the pink side. So pink is quite a feminine color anyway.
It is. No, that's amazing. It's good that you're involving all these different types of groups and all these different kinds of people that you didn't even maybe know at the start that they needed a space, or you could provide a space for them, or you could relate to them on that level. So it's amazing how much of an impact community can make, and just getting together and that sort of thing. It's so 100%. Inspiring to see. honestly.
Thank you so much. Well, I can't wait for you to come down and get involved. But equally, when we start expanding throughout the UK, which we're planning on doing in 2020, as well as actually global, then I can't wait for you to not only lead, but just get involved and just see it firsthand, right? Because I can say so much, but it's the first-hand experience that really, and actually attending really differentiates us.
And even attending it and being part of the workshops, it'll motivate you more to even do more in your own space as well. And I feel like that's probably one of the aims that you have for your workshops, that people are inspired, that they're spreading the message by themselves and they're creating their communities, like they're expanding their own communities by themselves. So it's very inspiring to see.
It's like teaching them the life skills of how to do that, the benefits of how to do it, but most importantly, we haven't spent any money on advertising or PR or comms. Everything we are now doing, including the TED Talk, which I was invited to kind of give, to the conferences that we're now invited to speak at, it's all organic.
Yeah.
And it is through the word of mouth. And that itself is quite a powerful stat, that we haven't had to put any money behind us because we don't have the money, right? I do this as a passion project. It's not my full-time job. And so it's inspiring. And, that's one of the ways that, for example, we connected.
Definitely. That's how it's crazy to see how it's like a little ball that's spiraling down. So you meet all these different people and it just gets into bigger and bigger things that, you don't even know where it's going. One question that I really wanted to ask that's maybe not part of, like-minded females, it's more personal to you. As a woman of colour, as a woman as well, what experiences and challenges have you faced in technology and STEM? Has it been surprising for you? Have you kind of expected it? And how have you dealt with it? So it's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question. The honest truth. The truth is that I had never felt any kind of, I'd never acknowledged any kind of differentiation based on my skin color or my gender as much as I did when I went into the workplace. As a child, you are not, as a child,
you think it's more equal.
Actions which are not inclusive are not promoted, right? So as a child, you're friends with everyone, everyone's fine, and you're having a good time. It's when you start becoming an adult and you're socialized into these cultural norms, per se, that you're actually seeing the divide and you feel the divide. So when I went into my first workplace, and ever since I've been working, I felt it as a woman of colour. The way I'm spoken to, or the way I'm acknowledged, or the lack of acknowledgement, for example, in certain skill sets which I hold, to the point where working in technology, I have often been leading the team and being regarded as the admin because they just can't fathom, or they just don't never assess the situation, didn't perceive the woman to be leading the team, for example. And so that's the kind of cultural norms that I'm trying to tackle through both having a voice and raising a voice to helping workplaces to become more inclusive. But as a woman of colour, and especially as a Pakistani woman, technology is not your first go-to career. And so there's a big educational piece to be done, even in our own communities, to teach young people and families and parents to say there is more to life than just the kind of the common work career and the job roles that are normally put upon us.
I completely agree. It kind of boxes you in before you even begin. That's how I kind of see it.
And so when you're young, for example, I think of technology as a lifestyle. So for me, it's a place where logic meets creativity. That's how I think of it, because for me, it's like you have to be logical and yet you have to be quite disruptive and innovative. Now, we shouldn't be telling young girls and young boys that, hey, you have to pick maths or art. That's not the approach we should be taking, and yet we do. We shouldn't be saying, oh, you can be a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer and disregard everything else, because actually it's the other job roles which are just as important. And so there's twofold, right? There's the one fold that as a female in this workplace, I hadn't ever realized the concept of white privilege or racial comments as much as I did when the workplace started. But then I realized where it really stemmed from.
I completely agree. And it's what I discovered through my university degree, through my working life as well, that you don't have to stick for one career and you don't have to do one thing, and which is exactly what you're doing. And it's so crazy how every single person, most of the people that I interview, have that same mindset. They don't do one thing. They have other passion projects, even if they're not getting paid anything for it. They just don't have that one career mind, that, and their career can change as well as life progresses as well. Like you probably never knew that you were going to be a researcher going back to university when you left university, or you never knew that you were gonna do all these different things and show all these different skills. And that's one thing that I want to express to everyone, I guess male or female, that just because you do a degree or you do one job, it doesn't mean that that is your job or that is your degree. You can go into the arts, you can go into all these different kind of fields and sectors. And scientifically actually shows that if we merge different subjects together, one, you produce more valuable things, you're more productive, and two, it makes more sense because life is so merged. It's not like black and white, math, science, computer science, tech. It's so merged, and exactly what you said, that's when the most exciting things develop. So yeah, I completely agree.
No, it's the recent stats show that over 47% of the UK workforce between the ages of 18 to 35, I believe it is, have a side hustle. And our side hustle doesn't have to be one that they're paid for. It just means they have a passion project.
Yeah.
But it also shows that the new generation of the workforce, i.e. millennials, who will be over 50% of the workforce by 2020, which is only next year, are looking for different attributes and criteria when they're picking their job role. So we as millennials, let's say, the common millennial, is not interested in their salary package as much as they are on what values they're driving, what the impact is of the work they're producing, and how it will help them in the future. So they're focused on more kind of mobility and flexibility. I'd happily take X pay cut to have more freedom and flexible balance, but flexible work-life balance is the common thought of a millennial at this point. And so we need to acknowledge that everything we're doing now is very fluid, and it's the fluidity that is helping us progress as a nation and the economy to thrive. If we were to think how they were thinking 50 years ago, 20 years ago, at that point in time it was probably the right way to think, but today we have to think about future practices and making everything we do more efficient in a less period of time rather than going backwards, right? And like when you look at the Scandinavian countries and the Nordics who have implemented a 4-day working week or lesser hours, or, for example, equal paternity and maternity days off and pay, well, they are the happiest people in the world and the most productive. Why? Because they are listening to what their people want. And that's the number one thing that I encourage companies and communities to do, is to listen to others and don't assume you know what they want. Actually ask them and then implement that so that they are both more loyal and more productive and valuable towards you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I completely agree. You made such good points there. It's really interesting to even talk to you. And one of the last questions that I want to ask is, you've probably met so many different women and from all fields of life. What is one of the most common issues that you see amongst them? I'm curious to know.
The one that pops into my head is the two that pop into my head actually is one, the imposter syndrome and the lack of confidence that females have in themselves. And so for those who don't know imposter syndrome, it's when you have achieved something and yet you feel like you are still a fraud and you don't deserve it. So a really good example, and simplistic example, is you've gone through 3 interview rounds to get your job. They've given you a salary, and then on day 1 you're like, oh, I'm just not good enough to be here. Like, you must have been good enough for you to get that job, right? Yeah. So that's one of the common problems. And the second one is the lack of role models. it's me being a mid-20 British Pakistani woman. Well, where are my role models when it comes to both tech and academia? So in technology, I'm less than 3%, and in academia, less than 1% are Pakistani females. So how can I be what I can't see?
Yeah.
And so those are the two most common problems that I kind of
see.
Yeah, and I see, and I'm subject to, and I have conversations about, is one, how do you increase confidence within yourself, and why is it that scientifically men seem to be more confident than females in their ability and also their lack of ability, right?
Yeah.
And secondly, it's, well, where are the senior females or the senior leaders that we're trying to become in the next 5-10 years? Like, if I can't see them, then I don't know where my path is. And if I can't see them, then how do businesses acknowledge that we exist to start with? And I'm not talking about females who are higher up in the chain. I'm talking about diversity from also a cultural aspect. And that's often what's missed. Like, being a brown girl or a black girl, normally a white female counterpart does not acknowledge or understand, or is not educated enough to know your background and your cultural expectations for them to like address every issue or every problem that you might come across.
Yeah.
And that's what companies are really struggling with right now, and that's what individuals are struggling with.
No, definitely, you make such a good point, and it's sad to see that so many females are facing confidence issues and role models as well. So it's good that at least you're tackling it and we're talking about it, and again starting like the conversation. We've had an amazing discussion. I've really enjoyed it, and time went really quick. Do you have anything to add or anything to say before I kind of end this?
One thing I'd like to acknowledge is that you should be super proud of yourself for, raising this platform. And one of the solid points that you made at the end is, we are now communicating. And that is the first step, right?
Yeah.
Communicate and listen. But the first step is to actually communicate and say something and speak out loud and to start changing the narrative. So doing this from your own home and using the technology features which you have, you should be immensely proud of yourself that you are changing the narrative in your own way.
Yeah,
and it's not about being right or wrong, but it's just about changing the narrative and starting to do something.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's always been my mindset. So thank you for acknowledging
that's
it.
good.
Thank you.